Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Now I'm going to discuss with you people and make you people understand much about the cell wall. In the previous episodes we have just seen that we have description under what is science, what is a cell, what is its important function in human's life, what theories does it exhibit, what kind of cell organelles does it possess, branches of science, and most importantly, cell membrane. What functions does it hold? What kind of structure is briefed in it? What kind of models are given in it? So in this video, we are going to discuss completely or understand completely about what is exactly the cell wall. Students often get this in their exams, like the question speaks like, what is cell wall or define cell wall? What functions does it possess? Depending upon what kind of layers is it divided into. What is Plasmodus Mata? What is symplast? What is apoplast? Brief on it. What are pits? What are they divided into? What are the growth factors? These all sort of questions are mostly frequently asked in examination papers. So how to answer it, guys? So when we come to the concept of cell wall, to brief it systematically, the first point or foremost point says that the cell wall is the outer protective layer of a plant cell. Fungi and most of the prokaryotic or primitive organisms or prokaryotic cells. When it comes to the animal cells, gametes, zoospores, it is absent. The cell wall is not present in any animal cell. The cell wall is a term coined by the scientist Robert Hooke in the year 1665 under keeping the observation of core tissues of oak plant or quercus plant. He observed under doing an experiment on this oak plant and designed or termed a word called a cell wall. So cell wall, in fungal cells, the cell wall consists or composed of substances like polysaccharides, chitin and cellulose. When it comes to the algal cell wall, it is comprised of substances like cellulose, galactons, mannans, etc. In higher plant cells, we do see that cell wall is comprised or composed of most of substances that bind in it called as cellulose, which are intricately branched in a certain medium. The medium also constitutes substances like pectin, cellulose, hemicellulose, etc. When we come to define what exactly in the second point is middle lamellum is intercellular matrix, not intra, it's intercellular matrix that is present or fixes both the adjacent plant cells. It is thin, amorphous, cementing layer that binds both the adjacent plant cells. It also consists of certain kinds of components like the calcium and magnesium pectates. The calcium and magnesium ions are so branched in within the pectin compounds to bind to the adjacent cell wall layer. They are formed at the formation of cell plate under the stage of cytokinesis under cell division. Then the third point holds under it is cell wall is again divided into three types depending upon its layer. The primary layer, secondary layer, tertiary layer. The primary cell wall layer says that it is thin, elastic layer. Its function is cell elongation. It consists of substances or components like cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, proteins, etc. It also forms the compact strands like microfibrils that are further branched and also present in a medium that supports it in a pectinaceous compound medium. We can also say that most of meristematic and parenchymatic cells do possess this primary cell wall along with the middle lamellum inside them. When we come to the secondary cell wall, what exactly is it described as? The secondary cell wall layer is present to the foremost or next layer of primary cell wall layer, that is secondary cell wall. Secondary cell wall layer is a rigid, thick, compact layer present just next to the primary cell wall layer. Because as it consists of compact microfibrils which are further branched in a medium that consists of polysaccharides and cellulose kind of materials, etc. So, it is also present in brackets in the form like outer, middle and inner layers. Outer layer is called as S1. Middle one is S2 and the third layer or the inner layer is S3. Out of these three layers, S2 layer is thickened part or thickened layer. When we come to the tertiary cell wall layer, it comes just next to the secondary cell wall layer. It is composed of the constituents like cellulose and xylene. When the fourth point talks that what are the materials present in the cell wall or which materials is it composed of, we can say it is composed of lignin, suberin, lignin plus suberin as well as chitin, cutin. Lignin in most of sclerenchymatic cells it's present. Suberin as exodermal parts of the root. Lignin plus suberin as the endodermal parts or layers, it's present as such. When in case of chitin, it is present in most of the fungal cells. Cutin is present as epidermal parts of cells. So when we say about all these materials that comes under the cell wall, the outermost protective layer of plant cell, we must and should discuss about how the growth factors are resulted in the cell wall. Yes, growth often occurs in the cell wall like the point number 1 holds the content that is intussusception. What is intussusception called as? The cell wall layer divide further or grow further by using certain kind or addition of certain kind of substances which are present in and within the existing ones are called as intussusception. The factor is called as intussusception. It is a basic characteristic feature that defines about the function of growth of primary cell wall layer. Yes guys, the primary cell wall layer do grow through this factor of growth that comes under cell wall. When it comes to the secondary cell wall layer, when it comes to the apposition or accretion, then we can say that the cell wall layer do divide or grow in addition of new cell wall materials that are outer to the existing ones and form a very thin layer upon it to be categorized or featured as apposition or accretion, which is very essential or characteristic feature of how secondary cell wall layer is developed from it or grows from it. When it comes to Plasmodus Mata, what exactly is called as a 6th point? Plasmodus Mata are cytoplasmic or protoplasmic strands of structure that extend or that are extending between two adjacent cells or present in between two adjacent cells. They are present, their function is to increase the surface area of the cell wall of plant cell. When we come to the symplast, on one side, it is a living continuum of the plant cell, and apoplast is the non-living continuum of the plant cell. When we come about the pits, what exactly are they? They are unthickened parts or areas. When we come to the primary pit field, what it is defined or called as? It is described as such. When the unthickened areas or the depressions that are arised from the primary cell wall layer, they are called as primary pit fields. When exactly we come to the definition of pits, then it states as the unthickened portion or areas or the depressions that arise from the secondary wall layer of plant cell to just make us deliberately know or give us an idea about how the pits are designed like. The unthickened portions or areas are otherwise called as the pit chambers or the pit cavity. The opening through which it opens called as pit aperture. I repeat, pit aperture. The pits are also present in the form of pairs, faced one to one adjacently. So, when they are placed adjacently, what exactly do they exhibit character there? When they are present adjacently, one after the other, facing, present in the form of pairs, they do possess a membrane in between. That membrane is defined or termed as pit membrane. Pits are also divided into two types or two kinds of simple pits and bordered pits. What are simple pits exactly? They lack the border within it. They do not have the border so that the diameter is uniform entirely. The diameter of the pit chamber or cavity is just equal to the diameter of pit aperture. When it comes to the bordered pits, they have a border across or around it. How? Let's discuss. The secondary wall layer do arches on the pit or the pit layer to form a boundary or border around it. So why this boundary is present? Due to arching off around the pit. When it forms, what does actually take place? The diameter varies centripetally. The diameter differs or unbalanced. Like the diameter of the pit aperture is smaller than the diameter of the pit chamber or cavity. The border pits are also categorized as the membrane contains or consists of certain lens kind of particles or substances, again termed as torus. They also again have a boundary lining all around the outer boundary called as the margaux. So these two also are the contents to be pondered on. When we come to this context of cell wall, we also must and should know its functions. So what function does it exhibit? The very foremost function is it ensures the cell as it is the outer protective layer of the plant cell. It ensures the mechanical support to the cell. It prevents or protects the cell from further mechanical injuries. Being a part of apoplast or non-living continuum, it takes part in the transportation process also by transporting certain substances in this layer of cell wall of plants. It also describes that it is a definite skeleton that categorizes the plant cell. It gives description under as it acts as a skeleton of plant cell. It also protects the cell from injuries. It shapes the cell entirely. It gives a definite shape we can call. It also ensures mechanical support. It also takes part in transportation. Being a part of apoplast, it's basically a rigid layer. Through certain growth factors, it do grow by intussusception or apposition and accretion, and further develop to ensure the safety of the plant cell by shaping it entirely. Guys, don't forget one content. We missed that. What exactly we explained when the cell surface area to increase. When the cells are increased or when the cells are large, when the situation is like this, then the surface area to the volume ratio decreases entirely. When it decreases entirely, then the metabolic activity or metabolic rate of the cell also decreases automatically, right? So when we take in consideration the larger cells require or acquire large amounts of nutrients and substances like oxygen as well, and most of it, to function in, and also eliminates most of the unwanted substances or ergastric substances to spill out of the cell. In the same manner, the smaller cells also does the same, but in smaller amount, like the smaller cells acquires or require smaller amounts of oxygen, nutrients, etc., and also eliminate the ergastric substances in a very smaller way. It can. So, to maintain a proper surface area to volume ratio in the plant cell, plants do definitely divide under cell division. When they divide, they acquire a definite shape and size. The surface area is confined here to function well metabolically. When the cell increases in its size or surface area, the cell is increased to a bulk. When it increases and increases and increases on indefinitely, then it could not meet the expectations of metabolic rate, as there is no proper maintenance of surface area to volume ratio. Cells do divide indefinitely, but when it divides indefinitely, it could not meet the metabolic rate. It could not function well, we can say. So, to function well, to exhibit good metabolic rate, or to function well, keeping the ratio in a proper state, cell need to maintain a definite size and shape of its own. So, owing to it, the cell should also maintain a definite shape. So, to maintain it in certain situations, when it grows indefinitely, to maintain a definite shape, it do divide and divide to acquire a perfect shape and size, so that it can function appropriately. So, yes guys, what you have understood under this brief description of cell wall, whatever I have stated to you. The systematic points goes on like this. The first point defines it like the outer protective layer of plant cell. Who coined it? Robert Hooke, through which experiment? Cork tissue cells of plant. By which plant he considered it? Oak plant or Quercus plant. In which year? 1665 year. So, when it comes to the third point, why the fungal cell, what constituents are present in it? Like in fungal cells, polysaccharides, chitin, or certain kinds of cellulose kind of materials are present in it. It is absent in the animal cells, which you can also include in the first point. It differentiates both the plant and animal cells. It is present in the plant cell. It is absent in all the animal cells, gametes and zoospores, just like. When it comes to the fourth or fifth point, you can consider the growth factor, under which factor the cell wall actually grows. The first point holds like intussusception. Second point, apposition or accretion, through which it divides. The primary cell wall layer do divide under the factor of intussusception. The secondary cell wall layer under the category of apposition or accretion. Points to be kept in mind. What material the cell wall entirely possesses of? Sixth point, lignin, suberin, lignin plus suberin, chitin, cutin, etc. In which places are they present? Like lignin, sclerenchymatic cells, suberin under exodermal, and this is endodermal, and chitin is in fungal cells, definitely in fungal cells, cutin in most of the epidermal cells. Just like that. What is Plasmodus Mata? They are cytoplasmic or protoplasmic strands that extends both sides to the adjacent plant cells. They are present in order to function as they possess a particular function, like they increases the surface area, inner surface area of the plant cell. And also, what is apposition and what is symplast, apoplast, what are pits, what are simple pits, border pits, all are to be described as far as I have stated in my points or briefed in my points. So it is crucial to know lastly that what are the functions or what function do the plant cell possess. Plant cell wall possesses certain kind of functions, like it shapes the cell, it rescues the cell from injuries, it ensures the mechanical support to the cell. Being a part of apoplast, it takes part in transporting most of substances. It entirely exhibits its function as being the skeleton of the plant cell, and so on it. So this is a brief description that I have stated under the cell wall of plant cells, which is present only in plant cells, fungi and most of prokaryotic organisms. So if you have any doubts, queries or comments, do comment in the comment section below. Your subscription matters a lot, so do subscribe guys. If you like my video and brief concept of cell wall, do hit the like button. You also press the bell icon to get further notifications. Required blessings from my seniors, lecturers and professors. Hearty well wishings from my juniors, classmates and friends as well. So this is the content of the day. So let's discuss other contents or other concepts or other organelles in the next episode or next video we do. Thank you guys. You are done with today.